Wow, I'm so excited about today's webinar, guys. I wanted to make sure I was able to host it for a very special friend of mine, Master Ace Ramirez. For those of you that do not know Master Ace, there's not many people like him, not only in the martial arts industry, but just as a person. I've known Master Ace for approximately 12 to 13 years, and I just wanted to make sure that I give him an introduction that he deserves. Master Ace not only is an amazing Muay Thai practitioner, he's also a caring person. He also makes sure that if you're a school that needs help, he would literally take your call at pretty much any hour of the day, any hour of the night. The guy works very hard, and his crew program is in over 145 schools right now, several continents all over the world. And without further ado, I'm going to turn over to my main man, Master Ace Ramirez.
Well, good afternoon, guys. Thank you so much, Sensei Nick. Thank you so much to Champions Way and Mahan's also helping me out today. Had a great weekend. I met probably over 250 or was among 250 school owners and had a very exciting weekend. Spent the last couple of days with some coaches. Today, I'm very excited to be able to speak to you because I literally get tons and tons of Facebook messages and email messages about specifically adult programs and training. So I'm very excited to be able to work with you guys. Those that are not here but registered will be able to get a recording. And if you had any other questions and didn't get a chance to ask me in today's webinar, I'll make sure that you have my contact information so that you can ask me for later on. So today's topic is strategies to drive a flood of adults to your school. And I think traditionally we do know in our industry that we lean a little bit more to getting more kids. And right above that, you can see how to be able to find balance for your business. So I'd like to be able to just get started right away. And right now, for those who don't know, I'm just going to rifle through this. You can always Google me and find out a little bit more about me. But yes, Ace is my real name. A lot of people kind of ask and say, where did I get it? My parents gave it to me. So a lot of people know me as Master Ramirez or Master Ace. Either one is fine. Doesn't really make a difference. But I have been training in the martial arts for over 30 years. Actually, I'm going close to about 33 years in both traditional styles and non-traditional styles. I have managed and owned and operated multiple martial arts schools simultaneously. I actually have also opened up fitness-only gyms over the years. And whether I own them or manage them, it's pretty much going on maybe like 23 years, 24 years. So been around a lot of great people and people much smarter than me, and hopefully I can be able to share some of that with you. I am known as the Muay Thai guy, but as I said before, I do have a background in traditional martial arts. I know many other styles, which means I've worked with a lot of people. So I feel your pains. If you think, hey, that's how it works in your school, I do know what it's like to be in your school, not just in mine. And within my own school, we don't just teach Muay Thai. We have kids programs. And I will shout out Master Melody, so I have her skills program going as well. So if anyone has any questions or comments with regards to that, go ahead at the end, and I'll be able to answer your questions. And we do have many coaches all over. We're in about 5 different countries, and for the last 15 years, the school that I personally own and operate and manage, we pretty much generate at least the same, if not more. We actually lean a lot towards the adults that actually come in as leads and stay and train with us. So I guess part of the webinar is sponsored by Dr. Dre, apparently. So his logo wound up there. But what I'm going to cover today is I wish I had more time to be able to cover many different topics at great length, but I'm going to cover some basic things. Some of the things that I will cover today are the most common hurdles for adult programs. And as I'm saying that, try and think to yourself, what are some of the hurdles within your school if you can identify that? Number 2, reinventing your school image. Number 3, how to find leads that you didn't know that you had. Next is attracting the right market. And next is, well, who do you want to run the programs? Who are you going to employ? Because, again, as you try and get more and more people in through the door, you can't do everything. Who are you going to be able to delegate that out to? So let's get started. I do want you to participate, but if you don't write it down, that's fine. I just want you to think about what are some of the most common hurdles in the past as to why you haven't been able to get more adults. Now, there's 2 ways to look at it. Why are you not getting more adults coming in your door? And at the same time, why are they not staying? There's another factor in there that's quietly kept, which is basically other entries into the adult market or into your adult programs happen to be the kids. So are the kids staying and being excited about your adult programming, or are they stopping at a certain age and not continuing for one reason or another? So let's investigate some of those things. First, we always have to start with what you do know about your school. And all of these things are very, very different aspects and factors in the way that you're going to handle that. So from that, we're going to step into what are your stats. So if you're supposed to understand exactly what goes on in your school, you can't have an opinion about it. Your opinion is exactly that. Your opinion is just an opinion. You have to know your numbers. So the next thing is, if you can have a notebook next to you, I want you, as I ask certain questions, to write notes, obviously, so that you can be able to prepare. And later on, if you want to contact me, you're going to have a lot of this information along with you. So what are some of the stats? What are these numbers that I'm talking about? Well, one happens to be, well, what is your student ratio for kids versus adults? People always say the same thing. I'll ask them right off the bat. I say, listen, off the top of your head, do you have more kids or adults? And they'll say kids. And I go, well, how many? And they'll look up into the ceiling as if that's where they keep all their stats. And they'll say, oh, well, we have about, 70, 30%. And I know right off the bat, they're just completely guessing. They have no idea. So the next thing that you want to look at is, well, what are your leads for your kids and adults? So if people who are at your school right now, you can actually figure out how many kids and adults that you have. The next thing you want to be able to think of is, how many are constantly contacting your school for a child prospect client or for an adult? And obviously, because we're in this age, you have to look at what your website appeal is. And what you have to think of is, it's not about what you think, it's about what somebody else thinks as they're visiting that page. So when you start to say, well, I'm not getting as many adult leads on my page, tell another adult to check out your website and say, is it appealing for them to even want to investigate further? They might land on your page, but the connection stops there, and they might be turned off on something, so therefore they think that your school is not really the school for them. Now, I'm going to give you an example. This is actually a website that I just saw recently, and I'm not saying there's something wrong per se with it. The thing is, when you look at it, it doesn't look like it's something that might speak to a person unless they really knew about it or had researched about it. You have Japanese characters there. Really, the only words there that would relate to anyone is, it just says martial arts. Everything else is kind of in another language. Apparently, they're going to teach you swordsmanship in a particular class. And there's really no description for benefits out of there. It's literally, call us. Land on this page and call us. You have a guy on the left who's kicking. You have another guy who's getting choked. And you have another guy who's getting thrown. Awesome. I can't wait to join. Because when I go there, I'll probably have to, kick to the head, get choked or get thrown. And maybe, hopefully I won't get cut by a sword. There's nothing else appealing to me right now, and I'm not picking on the site. I'm saying this is actually the only page of the site when they land on it. We all know that there are much more modern designs and strategies and things like that. But what I'm saying is, as obvious as it is to you that this is not the most appealing website, your site might be appealing to you. Now you got to ask somebody else and see what they think, because when they look at your site, they might actually be seeing this. It just happens to be a different format. So the next thing is, what age is your adult in your school? So again, whether you write this down or maybe you're going to be writing off to the side, I've had so many people with so many different answers with all the instructors that I speak to. Well, our adult program starts at 18. Well, our adult program starts at 16. Well, our next age down is at 14 years old. You have to identify what is the age for your school and why. And that's going to be very important, because if you're going to revolve your curriculum or make certain innovations within your school, who is it appealing for? Are the self-defense techniques for your 5-year-olds also being done for your 15-year-olds? And if you're 15, you're kind of well into high school, and some of the things that you're trying to teach the 5-year-old may be too immature for the person who's a teen, and vice versa. Realistically, if you're teaching some adult self-defense techniques and you're trying to teach it to your kid, that might be a turnoff for your child as well. So you have to be able to look at both ends of the spectrum and find out what's appealing for one and what might be a turnoff for another. And that will become the reputation for your school when I go into reinventing your image. All right. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is your curriculum for kids the same as your adults, which is what I was mentioning. Are they really going to expect something different? And the reason that I'm bringing that up is if a parent is watching a kid's class and they're able to get a blue belt in whatever style that you have, and then you find out, hey, mom or dad, why don't you join our adult program? And they say it's just like the kids program, they might feel like it's not specifically designed for them because you're just mimicking the exact same thing. So a couple of things that you have to be able to consider that when you're marketing to the adults is what are you doing to update that particular curriculum if it is the same style? And what are you doing to innovate or add to continuing education for them? So whether it's a self-defense technique, whether it's a sparring technique, whether it's it's adding boxing or grappling techniques, maybe that's not something that you have in your traditional martial arts for your kids. But in the adults, you have to be able to see what is it that they might be learning and benefiting from that. So I want you to really take a hard look at that. What did I say before? Well, you're going to look at it and you're going to say it's perfectly fine, you're happy with it. But again, you're asking yourself, you're a little bit different than the person walking in the door when you're trying to explain what your program is really about. Why don't you ask someone that's not involved in martial arts? Don't ask your black belt instructors. Don't even ask some of the parents that are there. Ask your brother-in-law who doesn't train martial arts and let him take a look at, hey, this is what you would learn. Would they be interested? And if they're not interested, why are they not interested? So you might not be hitting the right buttons, or the benefits are there. The adults around you would love it, but your image is holding you back because they don't know you do that. They just think that you do a lot of great karate parties for kids, and you specialize in 3- and 4-year-olds, and they don't even know that you have this specialization for them as well. So the other stat that you have to take a look at is, it's not opinion. What is your actual retention for the adults? So let's say you have some incredible marketing. You're able to show them benefits online. And when you come in, you have great intros. And everything that you promise them, they pay you. And then after a year, they don't continue. Why didn't they continue? What is it that didn't hold it? Was there something in your pitch that was so amazing, actually not represented in your class? And after a year, they thought that wasn't it. Or after a year of training with you, or however long your intro program happens to be, or level 1 beginner, they think you're just going to do it all over again. And remember, we come from a culture where someone might join Zumba for a while, and after Zumba, they'll do some spinning. And after spinning, they'll do a body pump class. And they just love the seasons. We've been conditioned that we'll do football for X amount of months. We'll do baseball for X amount of months. So there's a psychology that we were brought up in that we won't really do it for very long because we have to switch it up. So if your curriculum is so identical year in, year out, month in, month out, week in, week out, day to day, they just don't want to do it for another, or they haven't been explained well enough through your marketing or internal signage or what have you, that your program is very, very progressive. And I say this all the time. You know, if you had an iPad 1 and you loved it, you're probably going to get an iPad 2. But the only reason you're getting the iPad 2 is because it has a couple more benefits. In that one, it has probably 90% of exactly the same stuff and 10% change. I'll take that word back. It wasn't a 10% change. It was a 10% innovation. Now the resolution is better, and that's what you want. And you're willing to rebuy the iPad, maybe even pay a little bit more, even though you had the original one, just for that benefit difference. So don't be afraid about that price structure. Don't be afraid that you can't hit the mark. You just have to make sure that your messaging is very clear and basically sexy enough for them to be able to do that. Next thing is, what was the last innovation in your adult program? So if you say, I'm a traditional martial arts program, we've been doing everything for the last 20 years, and that's how they did it before, and that's how we're doing that again, take a walk down the mall and see if they're doing that. Most successful stores, the way they look is different every season. The product that they sell is different. The way they present it is different. So you got to make sure that everybody actually understands through your messaging, and we'll harp on this all day long, is what is the cool factor? It's about you being cool to the adult program. You might have super slamming fun classes for your kids, and they love it, and they're learning, and they're getting better. But what is it that are you doing? Are all of your window space designed for kind of a kindergarten or first grade or third grade or fifth grade audience, and it's so cluttered no one can see through the window to see what amazing adult classes that you have? You want to be able to have your community understand that. When you're talking to all the moms or you're talking to some of the guys that are coming out of the gym and you talk about your brand, your school, do they think it's cool, or do they say, yeah, I know someone who trained there when they're 5 and they stopped when they got their black belt when they're 10, because that's when they're supposed to stop training at your school. Is that your reputation? So when you go out there and say, hey, listen, we had 100 black belts that graduated from our program, and everybody knows that all those black belts were 9 years old and they all stopped after they got their black belt, that becomes the reputation of your school. And if you want to modify that, you have to do something dramatically different. So what do adults think that are cool? Well, a lot of adults, regardless of what we think of it being different than the martial arts, people will say, wow, I'll see more pictures about CrossFit on Instagram than anything else. I'll see more Facebook posts about gathering teams together for a mud run. Or some people will at least debate about should they be able to get a Samsung or an Apple. Sorry, I've always had more of an Android device. My wife has Apple, so we always go to war a little bit. But, that's the whole thing. We're trying to find out why we like it as adults. You give it to a kid, anything with a screen that you could swipe becomes cool to the kid. But for the adults, we want to inquire a little bit more, whether they look on a review site or not. These are the things that you want your current students to be able to put out there on social media and say, why are they training it? Are the content of what you're doing shareable? And that's what I'm talking about, the cool factor. Okay, so let's talk about that. It's time to reinvent your school image. So I can't tell you how many times I've just gone to a school, and you probably have done this, right? You're on vacation, you're with your wife or significant other, and you just have to stop by a martial arts school and go in there and see what it's all about. Well, again, we can go into the picture on the left, and obviously this is more of a traditional martial arts school. It appears to be a waiting room area. The seats look completely generic, right? I can't tell really where I'm waiting. It may look like even an acupuncturist's waiting room, right? And you have all these icons there. Now, unfortunately, all the signage they have there is in another language, so they can't really learn anything about your background. They can't learn about the benefits of the program, and specifically, they can't see how it identifies with them unless they've taken some pilgrimage to certain pagodas in Asia. They really don't know what that has to do with them. They don't see any students, right? They don't see any adult students. They don't see adult students giving a testimonial, smiling, working with the instructor. Things like that to be able to give them some sort of connection as to why they belong in the school. Now, the other picture on the right, now you have some teens coming in. They want to get shaved. It looks like, they see some movie and they want to come in, and they saw cool stunts dealing with kicks and punches. And I'm being a little over direct when I show you the alphabet there, but I joined a great gym recently just to, get away from everything. And this is kind of what their daycare center looked like, right? The daycare, it wasn't about having the ABC. It did not, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about some places you go in there and the puzzle mat look like it's just for a junior audience. It doesn't look like that's where I'm going to train. So is the dojo that you're at primarily designed for a certain age group with all sorts of tools that are in line of sight? And then when you have an intro come in and they step on the mat, they almost feel like they're a visitor to it. It's like, well, we're a kids martial arts school, but we'll teach you for an hour something else, but we're really in this other space. So it doesn't really feel like the potential client or the customer feels like the program is for them. So once again, it's not a matter of what you think. Start to ask other people. Do walkthroughs with a clipboard and start walking around and start to see how many things are actually directed and targeted towards teens and adults having that cool factor. I'm not saying that, your old diplomas and things like that are not cool. I'm just saying they need something to connect to because of whatever reason that they walked in or decided to contact you for. Has to be something current. So the next thing that I'm going to go into is, do you think your school looks cool? Do you think it looks cool only to you? And I am looking, and you'll see this later on. I'm going to make an announcement later on. I'm looking for a case study. I'm always looking to work with more and more school owners, especially if I really haven't worked with you in the past. Take a couple pictures of your reception area and your mat area. Contact me. Write down my email, crewace@gmail.com. Send me, introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about your school. Maybe a link to your website. and send me a couple pics of your school, and let's go through kind of like a free consultation. And let's go through what are some of the innovations that you want to do within the design. And if you don't understand why certain changes have to be made, we'll go over that step by step, or you can even post it at the end of this webinar. Okay, next. Think about all the different, I said this before, the mall situation. You go down the mall, the stores that you want to go to as an adult, what do they look like, the way they're situated? Do they have folding chairs, like aluminum, steel folding chairs in there, or do they have some nice couches, nice seating? Does it look like it's a waiting area for a dentist or a doctor, or does it seem like it's more community-based where people can be able to share? Think about a gym that's popular in the area. Think about the way they lay that out. Now, I'm not trying to tell you to spend $100,000 and to get an interior designer. What I'm saying is when you go somewhere else, whether it's a gym or even a restaurant, you're very critical yourself. If you had to get that buzzer when you go to a restaurant, they tell you to wait 30 minutes, and then you have to sit on an aluminum chair, you'd be like, what the heck? What's going on over here? Give me something comfortable to sit in because I'm about to spend some money on this expensive steak. And it could be a great steak, and you could be paying good money for it, but something about it will make it feel like it wasn't worth the money. Even though the steak was good, the conditions around it could just maybe taint a little bit of the opinion of the person getting that product or the service. Okay. I've seen a lot of places, and the pro shops themselves look like they're just for like little kids. Hey, let's have a pair of rubber nunchucks, but there's nothing there that looks like it's a cool-looking sweatshirt. And I'm not talking about the school sweatshirt. I'm talking about you have your uniform, and you have something that an adult would wear outside passively, advertising your school, your brand, your image, right? So not everything has to be the exact same logo. Yes, if they're on the mat, 100%, I believe in uniforms. Your logo is your logo, et cetera, et cetera. We'll talk about logos in a little bit, but your logo is your logo. However, when they walk outside, you might have different designs that don't necessarily scream, intro lesson for free, call this phone number, and that's what they're wearing outside. They're wearing something very, very cool and fashionable. Shout out to guys like, Hyper, and they're always trying to be cutting edge. Master Melody Schumann has her, a new look and design, and you have to think about that. They're making it fresh. They don't think that they're devaluing it because they're making, different ways to look at their name and logo. It's not taking anything away from that. It's just these are what people would want to wear when they're not training. All right. Do your mats look like the one from the gym's babysitting area from the picture before? And as I was talking about the restaurant, your service, because we do that, they're paying for a service. Is the service seem bad? If the cook did their job, but the server did not, you'll still complain about the restaurant. So every little bit of that will count. So let's go back into that. What is your school name? And I'm not saying to change your school name. I'm saying there are different ways to identify yourself to the public. So if your school name is, Family Martial Arts USA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that's great. And it's out there. But if you're doing a kickboxing program, or you're doing a boxing program, or you're doing a grappling program, or you're doing like a hyper bow staff, gymnastics type of program, you may want to have something separate. You may want to have, instead of, River Edge Martial Arts, you might say River Edge Kickboxing. It's kind of just rebranding something else because it might go to a separate landing page. Okay, so if we go back again to this example, I have no problem with the person having this style, but maybe the name that it goes by so that someone can put that in. By the way, that's the name of the website as well. Do you think somebody might misspell that? So you want to turn into some other alternatives. And this is not earth-shattering news. These are things that we all know. The thing is, have you gone to GoDaddy yet, spent $8 with an alias name so that some adults can feel like there's something special for them? Conversely, you might have a domain name and make it something more kid-friendly as well. So I'm not just talking about the adults. You're trying to be able to create image and branding within the community to be able to find you, and those links will be able to get them the information that they're looking for. And if they're looking for an adult program, they don't land on a page where it's all about kids' birthday parties. Okay? So is the name that you have an outdated name where people will misspell it if they're trying to look it up? or when they simply talk about it to friends, that they really will mix up the messaging of what you're trying to do. For example, the name of our school is called Crew Training. Listen, at the end of the day, it doesn't specifically say martial arts and it doesn't specifically say fitness. So I'm able to use that name in many different conversations. And once again, I'm trying to build up a case study. So if people want to contact me directly, let's look at that. Now, within your own school, you can create a case study and select certain people within your circle or group so that they can be honest and to be able to give you opinions on any innovations. Don't just rush and say, oh, Master Ramirez said to do this, and you start changing it and you don't have a focus group. Every change that a big company does, they don't do it because one guy behind a desk decides it. They're going to bring it to a certain focus group, see what tests very well, and then, therefore, that opinion might not be the opinion of the owner, but it's the opinion that's going to count. So now you have all this information. Now you have some new data. You know who your kids are. You know where they're coming from. You know the adults. You've established an age. You found out that there's something that you could do differently within your program. You know all that, and you still don't change it. Why? Because we're creatures of habit. We don't want to let go. You have all this nostalgia, things like that. And you know, at the end of the day, if all you ever wanted to do was teach martial arts and have it reach out to more and more people, all I'm trying to do is give you a tool and a vehicle to reach more and more people. And as they come into your school, now all of your knowledge and wisdom and all the things that you can have can be absorbed by them because now they're coming in, feeling comfortable, and they're actually joining something that they were looking for. Trust me, if you need more adults, you don't have an adult brand. So again, if you're trying to sort of change your image, and you say, no, but everybody knows this, I hate to burst your bubble. They don't know that. Think of any brand that's out there like a Starbucks, and people will know what that's about. However, some people might know that they've passed by your school, but how many stores have you passed by in your town and you've literally never went inside, but you have an opinion of it? So your job is to be able to create new opinion. Your job out there is to be able to get, by sharing on social media or things like that, introductions to your school. And if they've never been to your school before, in a way, that's great. Now you have the ability of showing them whatever new innovations that you're doing. That's what you're all about now. So if you're talking about teens and you're talking about adults and you go to a random grocery store and just be like, hey, this is something that I've actually done before. Actually, let's not talk about the grocery. I visited a school. I'm not going to say, who. You may not know them. And right across the street was the diner. And within that school, they had kids classes, teen classes, they had cardio classes, and they had adult martial arts. Okay, great. Literally, you walk out the front door, across the street, there was a restaurant/diner. So I sat down with the instructor, and none of us had any martial arts, sweatshirts or anything, normal clothes. And he was just saying, hey, what should I do to get more people to join my adult program? And I looked around the diner, and first of all, I didn't see anything of his as far as marketing pieces at the diner. So I asked the waitress to come down and say, hey, I'm new in the area. I'm looking to get in shape. Is there any places that come down here? And by the way, I'm into kickboxing, boxing, the martial arts stuff. I was really vague. And the waitress who was working at the diner and restaurant right across the street from the martial arts school said, if you go 3 miles down the road, there's this place. So obviously, this owner hasn't spoken to the manager or worked with the staff to let them know they have a location right across the street that they can be invited to test out. And maybe all you're going to do is say, hey, listen, here's a free week or a free month. You're the manager. Here's the staff. We'd love for you to come by and experience what we do. Why? Because these people talk to other people. The waitresses and managers of this social gathering community place, like the diner, is going to talk to people and say, wow, I'm really sore carrying all these plates. Well, why? Well, I had this great workout yesterday right across the street. You should go check them out. So, this is not, again, earth-shattering news, but these are things that you have to investigate. It's just if you walk in the room, it'll be one thing. You got to try and have other people try and investigate who you are and what kind of brand that you have to the community. Now, every major brand has updated their logo at some point. They may not have changed their name, and I'm not telling you to change your name, but just look at it. But the way that's even presented, you may want to take a look at it and kind of make a little cool factor to it. And don't, invest in your brand. Don't just use clip art because you're able to snag it for free. So make sure that if you have any questions about that, again, send me some information about your school, and then we'll try and take a look at it. And I'm going to rifle now because we're running a little bit behind, but let's now try and find some leads that you didn't know that you had. First of all, this works a lot better if you have a student database. A lot of people use the old school card system, and then when they're a member, you have the cards, and when they're not, you throw them away. But if you have a database, let's say that personally I use Champions Way, and you have leads, or let's say not leads, you have former students. Well, the former students used to be in your kids' class. They quit when they're 12, 13 years old. They're not around anymore. Well, they're not around anymore because they're 12, 13, 14. They consider their cool factor a little bit different than what they were doing. So right now, what's actually happening is they stopped training in martial arts. They stopped 2 years ago. They're 15, 16 years old right now. So now what happens is now you can market to them because you have them in a database, you have their email or what have you, and say, hey, we have this new program going on. And you're trying to establish that it's not the same as their kids' program, which was kind of the point. Okay? It's not about having the database. It's about using your database. So, and at the same time, it's not a good database without accurate data, right? You have a name, you have a phone number, but you have no idea what age they are. There's no way to be able to update it because within, let's say, Champions Way, you know, their birth date is their birth date. So if you haven't looked at it a while, it still doesn't say 5 years old like on the piece of paper in their trial agreement. It happens to say now this person happens to be 15, 16 years old or whatever it turns out to be. You filter down your list. You either call them, you email them, and now you're sending them information. Okay? So it's not just having data, it's having good data. And how do you know if you have good data? The data happens to be accurate. Okay, so once again, talking about your old students, shout outs to Master Melody, she would always say, well, when do kids quit? And they happen to be at a certain age group. So if you have your age group that it's going too high, like it's, let's say, 10 years old to 15 years old or what have you, you've lost the cool factor because 15-year-olds don't want to hang out with 10-year-olds. I think we should know that. So this is why they're quitting. Find out what they're doing now. Try and contact them. Obviously, some of them may be on Facebook, so now that you're actually inviting them into your groups so they can see what's kind of going on and the announcements. And even if they're not coming in, they'll be in the loop of what's going on within your school. And offer them back what you weren't providing before. So if you had a lot of programs and they thought breaking boards was the most amazing, amazing thing and doing jumping kicks was the most amazing, amazing thing, as a kid, you don't know if that's what they really want to do when they get older. Some of them, they just want to have more of a fitness-based model. They want to have some other kind of aspects that they didn't do before. And by making it different is why they would do it. Look at my model before. I did Zumba, now I'm doing yoga. That is not similar at all, but it could attract the exact same person because they're at a stage in their life that they want to be able to do it. Now, here's a challenge question. Why don't older siblings join, and why do they do the sports instead? So when I'm talking about this, why don't the older siblings join or the younger siblings join? It's kind of the same thing of why doesn't the older sibling who hangs out with their friends not want their little brother in the class? And they just think it's not cool to hang out with them. I want to be separated out. So within our school, we literally separate the kids more like 13, 14 years old, right? Because in high school, which is kind of a whole different community, you're going into that more like 14 years old. So the 14-year-olds are in and around a community of 14, 15, 16. They have the freshmen all the way to seniors. So they're not getting bullied or picked on by seventh graders. That 14-year-old, 13-year-old is worried about some big guy from high school or otherwise kind of picking on them. So if you're talking about bullying, that's a whole different kind of bullying. Psychologically, physically, that's a little bit different than what the fifth grader is going to do. So if you have all of them all corralled together, it might be just more of your convenience than something great for them. And they want to feel like they're graduating. If they're graduating out of 7th and 8th grade and into high school, well, make them feel like they're graduating into the adult program too. So you might want to think, even if there are people still in your school, when do they get out of the program that they're in, such as the kids, and now into the adults? Now, why don't the parents join? Pretty simple. Parents don't want to do what the kids are doing. The parents do what they do. They're sitting there. If they sit there, they're watching and they're on their iPhone, and they're doing what the parents do. They're not doing what the kids do, and they have no desire to do that. I know there's a lot of successful family classes that get run, and I would love that to be a part of my case study as well as I investigate a little bit more in the adult program. But think about that. If you've always tried to twist the arm of a parent, hey, listen, it's Mother's Day. Mothers have a free month during May. Why don't you do it? Well, how come they're not taking the free month? It's just not that cool to them. So are they mistaken? No, the adult program could be completely different, but you don't have your school set up or your email set up or videos showing what the adults actually do. They bring their kid at 4:30, they leave at 5:30, they have no idea what's going on at 7 o'clock, they just don't see it. All right. Next, if you have a great adult program, is your message getting out? That goes back to your website and social media. Communicate through your blogs. Have your testimonials out there of what they're doing. You want it to be visibly different. So I'm going to tell you the quick story of a school owner that I had, and he had a Taekwondo program, and he goes, I'm going to do something to attract more adults. And he said, well, I'm going to do Hapkido. And I said, well, how would that be different? And he goes, in my Taekwondo program, they're wearing a white dobak, a white V-neck uniform. In my Hapkido program, it's completely different. We wear a blue V-neck uniform. And I said, how does someone walking outside the window know the difference between one program and another? There's nothing necessarily identifiably different going back to our Zumba and yoga program. It has to look different for me to be able to try it. And if you do something different now, does the outside of your place and the inside of your place still look exactly the same? So they just wouldn't know that you actually have made an innovation into your program. So if you don't have an attractive adult program to be able to add, sir, I teach my Kung Fu program and I have my Kung Fu program for my adult. I really have nothing else out. Listen, there's tons and tons of programs to be able to think of innovating in your school and having as a separate program, especially if a lot of the time slots in the evening aren't being taken up. So search them out. Ask another instructor. I have a program, and we'll have some specials for people that are interested in that. But that's another thing. Don't just blindly look at something that's online. Try and get some recommendations by other instructors. You don't have to call the person down the block that's your competitor. But I'm sure that through the networks that happen to exist, a lot of good recommendations can be made. So don't reinvent the wheel. Don't suddenly say, all right, well, now I'm going to try and get some fitness programs in there, and I'm going to make one up. That's a lot of work, and you're rolling the dice, and you don't know if it's successful. Try and make sure that you work with a program that has been running extensively for a long time, right? If there's a program out there and it's a 2-3 year program, and it's only been out for 1 year, well, how do you know it's going to work for 2 or 3 years and have the retention that you want? It's only been out for 1 year. So again, that's about rolling the dice just as much as it would be for you trying to make it up as you go along. So next thing is you want to be able to attract the right market. So, instead of Average Joe's Gym, we have this case study of Average Joe's Dojo. You have the traditional martial arts school with the setup that you saw from the pictures, and they'll have something, your basic age groups, and maybe their teens are still considered kids, right? The 11, 16-year-old, I don't know if that's a teenage group, but generically when I've picked up as many different schedules that I have from many schools, that's the group that they have, but they're teaching them the kids' martial arts version. And unfortunately, I'll look on the schedule and the lights turn off at a certain time. So they have no existing martial arts program. Why? Well, it's simple. I asked them, how come you don't have a martial arts program for the adults? Well, no one's calling. Well, why aren't they calling? Well, something about your brand is screaming that it's not for them. It's only for the kids. I know places they say, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to renovate my location, try and make it a cool factor. But who are you asking that it's cool? If the cool factor is just you, then you're renovating it the wrong way because you're going to make it only appealing for yourself. Putting up scrolls of ancient warriors that you usually see at the sushi houses are not going to do it. Posting up dusty plaques and trophies that were last updated in 2009 but nothing current is actually hurting you more than helping you, because somebody's going to walk in and say, wow, they haven't done anything this year or last year. It's only like 20 years ago. It's like the Al Bundy. I was a football star in high school, but he's not doing anything right now. Are you putting nothing but framed pictures of a bunch of people that nobody knows? They're all ancient instructors, which is fine, but maybe they're your instructor from 10 years ago, but nobody knows who they are because the signage isn't correct. And then you have 20 different photos up, and they're of the same people. They're just at a different place in a different order. And that, again, it's kind of, where's the pictures with the students having fun at this year's party or, some recent testing, something like that. Now, Here's another case study, whether it's the same school or another one, and they have a fitness kickboxing program. Okay, we're going to be different. We don't just teach martial arts, we do fitness as well. And they think that that'll be the bread and butter replacement for their martial arts program. But if you really look at the numbers, more than half the members are attending with a Groupon. So you are artificially filling up the classrooms with people, but no one's really giving you a value because they're really not paying because they're on a free trial on Groupon. You're giving away certain items to be able to bribe them to come in. Bribes are good. You just got to make sure that it's working out for you. And you don't really have certain things in place, right? You don't want to have 18 kids classes and you have 100 kids. And to be cool, you have like 18 adult classes and you only have like 25 people in there. And then you'll see what everybody does. They'll say, all right, we have adult classes every day, Master Ace. We have adult classes from 7 to 8 every single day, but it's all ranks. Well, that's not sexy, right? You want to be able to say that this is the class for the beginners and this is for the adults. And you say, well, I don't have enough people. If you don't have enough people, start working on your marketing. Start talking to the right consulting people to be able to give you the ideas to attract them. Because all you're doing is you're housing a bunch of people. I call it the little house on the prairie syndrome, where you have like the 5-year-old and the 16-year-old in there, and they're teaching the exact same history lesson to completely different people, right? Watch out what's going on in the pro shop. Watch out what's going on with your Groupons or your trials, and make sure that your conversions are right, because your marketing could be great. They're coming in the door and they're calling you, but once they get to your school, something suddenly turns them off. And it's not always the price. I got to tell you, it's not always the price. Something else has turned them off. Whether it was the staff member who taught the class, and it's like it's the karate instructor that suddenly became the fitness instructor. And if you went to any other fitness gym, they don't look like any other fitness instructor. So you have to be very, very careful about becoming the role model for that. It doesn't have to be you teaching that particular class. Master Melody says that all the time, right? She teaches ridiculously amazing, fun, energetic kids classes, but she doesn't really teach the adult classes, and that's her choice. That's her choice as an owner, and that could be your choice as an instructor as well. And then you do enroll some of them, and the renewal and upgrades are not there. There's a cool factor being lost there too. And what does that bring up? It brings up who's teaching your classes, who are you employing to run those particular classes. Now, over many different occasions, I was lucky enough to be able to meet this gentleman, Master Ken, right? Doty is the best in the world. Why is it the best in the world? Because he says so. And I'm sure if I ask you, your style is the best because you say so. And it's kind of funny, the rationale that you're this great instructor to teach all ages, and by the way, some people started martial arts as an adult and they're making themselves be a kids instructor, or they were training as a kid and they have limited experience with the adults. So you have to look at this and just be like, listen, it's not about me. It's not about what I've done in the past. It's like, look at all the flaming bricks. I've proven how many bears I've been able to knock out and all that stuff. That's irrelevant because this particular person today in 2014 is looking for something very, very specific, very, very special. And if it connects to you, stop talking about what you used to do and start thinking about how you can service for them. You wouldn't want to go to a doctor and the last time they ever updated their knowledge between, medical practice 50 years ago when they graduated. You want to hopefully make sure that they're looking at all the updated information today. And that's what I'm asking you to be able to do as well. So there's many, many more to this list. But here's the thing. You're starting to go on a Craigslist. You start to ask current students, things like that. Who do you want to be able to be a part of your team? You have leadership teams and instructor training programs and coaching programs in your school. Don't just look at the paper. It's about how it feels. The paper always looks good. You know why? Because they're going to make it look good. They're going to write whatever it is to make you enjoy them as being the best candidate for the job. And then don't necessarily hire the expert because they'll always argue with you with this is the way that I did it. This is the way we used to do it. It's not about what you did. It's about what you're looking to do and innovate into the future based upon what you're doing. So be careful about people being an expert or claim to be an expert because you kind of want them to be able to be coachable is something that I always say, right? And then don't label them. It's like, well, that's just the cardio instructor or that's the kids instructor. People are able to get out of there, if you're able to lead them, get out of their comfort zone, and if they're a good personality, and not faking it all the time because people will be able to see it. They will be able to have this attractive quality about them and have people want to join, not just because they're in the school. They could be anywhere. They could be at, at a store or a grocery, what have you, and they're just like, man, so what are you doing this afternoon? And that particular person, because they're so cool, is bringing them into the location. So don't settle. Don't accommodate their schedule, because now you have the perfect person to be able to help you with your classes, and they could only help you on makeup day on Fridays. That's not going to be able to help you. You got to make sure that if they're going to be about it, they got to be about it. And if you're going to have them come teach your classes, the students will be like, well, I'm only going to go to the class at this time, and then he's not there. And now you've kind of endorsed a person that's really not someone who can represent your attractive new adult market. Okay. So with that being said, let's go back. What do I do now? Okay. If we go back to the beginning, look at everything that you're doing without your own opinion. Try and look at some of the facts and stats. Find someone to consult with that you trust, and then share this information that you've been able to gather. And then accept that information. If they're going to say something back, just listen. Don't go back to them really quickly and be able to say, well, this is why I do it. It's not important why you do it. The stats say that it's not working. And unless your data is wrong and you're not sharing the right data, it's wrong, and you have to do something just to be able to check whether one thing changed will be able to work. It's that degree of difference that can really change an outcome. And honestly, you may have to do something dramatically different. Why? Because it'll get people talking. Oh, wow, did you see the new stuff that they're selling now? Oh, look at everything from the pro shops to the images that you have, and not using the clip art and getting the testimonials of something that you're trying to do. Get that out there as quickly as possible. And if you need a little bit more tips, ask those questions, and I'll be able to help you at the end, or email me. So remember, if you change nothing, nothing will change. So you really have to be able to go and make a commitment to try and do something. Go forward and find other people, find other whether they're other instructors or consultants that are out there, just to be able to share a little bit of what you think is unshareable with your staff or your students, right? Because you feel like the loneliest person in the world because you're the only person who owns a school. That's not true. There's thousands and thousands of other people who own a school. Network as much as possible. Okay. Just to let you know, if you're talking about network, there's tons of places that we're going to be at coming forward. This is not a shameless plug. This is just letting you know that I'm not just here in the webinar and then you'll never hear from me again. In May, I'll be in North Carolina. In June, I'll be in Florida. And in July, I'll be in Texas. And actually, there's one more. In August, I'll be in Louisiana. So these are live trainings that we'll be at. If you're looking for things to be able to influence your adult program, please contact me or my staff about it. It might be something like maybe a Muay Thai program could be pretty cool. From what they do and all the different things, you can do all the research about Crew Muay Thai. That's fine. But just know that I'm going to be out there so you can meet with me, and there's a lot of consulting that I can work with you while I happen to be at these particular locations. So with that, if you have questions, start posting there. My friends over at Champions Way, Sensei Nick and Mahan will be feeding me some of the questions that you might have. But thank you for attending and letting me talk. As you can tell, I'm kind of a shy guy. But anyone interested in the Crew Muay Thai program, I'm going to go over a little bit more what you're going to get included. But definitely start adding some questions that you might have about adding more adults and teens into your school. So here's an example of certain things that you can from this program that I have. It doesn't have to be my program, but these are things that you would be able to get. Remember, don't reinvent the wheel and just start YouTubing everything. You want to be able to get it from people who's been doing the program as long as us. We've been sharing it with other martial arts schools throughout the world for the last decade. So you'll get multiple years worth of progressive curriculum, which is very good, right? You want to have levels for your adults. Next thing that is available to you are unlimited live trainings. As I said, every single month I'm in another state. So you'll be able to get live training personally with me and curriculum delivery weekends. Even if you're just trying it once, I'm not saying you have to completely join our program. If you just want to check it out just for one weekend, contact us. If you want to get complete curriculum and all the access to the programming and to make it step-by-step and very, very easy to implement within your school, you may want to join our program, our ongoing coaches program. So step-by-step class planners to make it very, very simple for not just the coaches to implement, but for the students to know what they're getting. If you don't do that right now with your kids' programming, this is why some of them stop. They think they'll just do the exact same thing year after year. If they don't see class planners, they don't see the syllabus, they don't understand what's next, you can't just say, if you stick around, you're going to do cooler and more advanced stuff. That doesn't register with them. They want to actually see things laid out for them and what exactly they got within their first year and how dramatically they're going to be able to get a learning curve and something with their cool factor staying the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Okay. On top of that, you're also going to be able to get online curriculum video access, so it makes it easier. If you can't fly out, you'll be able to see it online on your tablet and laptops. Something interesting, video exchange consulting. What that also means is not only will we give you videos, but if you want to videotape parts of your class, parts of training with your staff, things like that, send it to us and we'll be able to help you with that. How do we, the way that you configure your class, okay, well, maybe you want to do it this way because of the way your school is set up. It's almost like a response video consulting, so we can see exactly what's going on in your school and make adjustments, not just from a dry video that you see online, and you're only seeing how it's working within my school. You'll get to see what's going on in your school and how to be able to make innovations there. And of course, we get hit up quite a bit online, so you'll be able to have rights to name and logo and see if people would be attracted to going into our portal and then finding yourself, which is right here. So through our marketing, it's not just a curriculum that you're going to get. You'll be able to find that we have lots of sites that are out there, lots of videos that are out there, and we soak up Google searches quite a bit, and we get a ton of hits from teens and adults, and it's a global portal. So from here, you additionally will get coach support. So it's not a manual that you get, and we just hope you get a lot of adults. Anytime that you have questions, we have online support, email support, phone support over at headquarters with our great staff over there. You'll also get club charters and coach recognitions through our ongoing training. So I think ongoing training is very good. It's like that doctor scenario where you're talking about they haven't updated their information. You're a 4th degree 15 years ago, but you haven't done anything to figure out how to make your curriculum a little bit more creative. Now, here's the special. Okay, we have a webinar special today, so don't freak out when you see this. But about 99% of our guys have done our program this way. There's about 3 years, 4 years worth of curriculum for your students, and when you join our program, 99% of our guys they join it by doing $500 down and monthly payments of $350 a month. I really want to thank Champions Way for letting me be on the forum over here. Again, if there are any questions, I want my staff over at Champions Way to start posting them so that I can be able to see it. If you want to contact me, please friend request me on Facebook. If I hit the limit, I was close to the limit a couple times, and I was deleting a couple guys. I use a forward, so it's facebook.com ace.ramirez, but I use a forward. aceramirez.net gets you over to your Facebook. That's a little bit of a hint, guys. So you may want to do something like that for yours. Make your Facebook an easy URL to find. Or for those that are on Instagram, I would love more martial arts friends on Instagram, and my handle over there is @CrewAceRamirez. If you want more information, you could hit me up directly on Facebook, or you can leave your information at crew-muaythai.info. And another hint for you guys is I use .info for my lead generation. That means if you have a landing page for a new adult program, spend $5 and get the .info, and you have your main page as a .com, and you can have a .info for something very, very specific. So think of using something like that as a way for you to be able to categorize and filter your leads and have them not land on a general kids page. Now they're landing in your specific kettlebell class, your fitness class, your kickboxing class, your Muay Thai class, whatever that turns out to be. So thank you guys very much for being here. I'm going to address a couple different questions that are over here. I'm going to leave that up in case anybody wants to be able to friend me. Do you believe that professional adults, such as physicians, lawyers, business professionals, like belts and levels? Yes. I mean, think of every business card that you ever got. They want to say that they are a doctor so-and-so. They want to say that they have their masters. They love those initials at the end. So every single person wants to progress, right? If you are doing, I don't know, you name it, right? If you join the soccer team, you want to be on the varsity level and not just on the JV. So it goes back to that all ranks thing. Well, if you have no levels, let's put it that way. If you have no levels, there's nowhere for them to go. And if there's nothing on the schedule that says there's no new level to go to, They know ahead of time in their crystal ball, a year from now, I'm just doing the exact same thing. So here's a terminology piece that I always talk to my coaches about. Renewals versus upgrades. If you do something like a Zumba class for a year, all you can do is renew it for another year because it's the exact same class. You're renewing your same cell phone contract. It's the same service. But you would upgrade your phone. Why? Because there's something beneficially different. They want to feel like they're progressing. All the level classes are is there's a progression, so therefore they want to feel how quickly can I beat it. If you sit down with them and say it normally takes 8 months for people to graduate out of this program and go into our intermediate program, they want to do it in 6. And you want to tell them it's possible to do it in 6. So why do we have a 1-year level 1 program for Crew Muay Thai? Well, technically, I tell them we have these rotations and we have 2 sub-ranks within there. So every 4.5 months they can go up. That means it's possible in a 1-year program for them to graduate out within 10 months. Well, guess what? If I told you if I challenge you as an adult that you're doing a program that's 1 year, but your goal is to be able to do it in 10, challenge accepted. That's the way that it's going to be able to work. So I do believe in that. Okay, next question. Let's see. How do you reach qualified adults if you don't already have a database? Well, this is what I was also talking about before. First of all, if you don't have a database, you have to make sure you have something that can capture a database. So now it goes back to your website. Now it goes back to that scenario of the restaurant and finding out to the managers and networking in the local businesses that you do have it. So if you never had, and shameless plug, if you never had a Crew Muay Thai program before, now you go out there and be like, hey guys, hey, remember me? Sensei Bill over here. Hey, by the way, just want to let you know we have these brand new coaches. We've started this new teen and adult program, and we have this new fitness kickboxing program, or we have this Crew Muay Thai program. It's amazing, and you're going to talk about just that. You're going to only talk about that because now what you're doing is you're rebranding your school. If you're going to have a flyer and you're going to say we have cool kids classes and we have great, classes for adults, you're diluting the message. You've now branded yourself as that school on the corner has new coaches doing X, Y, and Z on a program, and this is what it's about. And obviously, the attraction is if you're getting those adults into your market and you're only talking about that, chances are they might have a kid. Chances are they have a friend that has a kid. So by trying to get those adults in, female or otherwise, it's also feeding your kids program as well. Okay? So that's actually a great question. I hope I was able to help you with that one. Let me see, next question. No, got quite a few. Reaching qualified adults, some train, but they're just shoppers, not interested in just any adult. Well, that means the messaging wasn't there. You want to qualify those leads, and you're exactly right. Well, if you're just saying, come down free classes for adults, well, you're going to get what you get. At the end of the day, what is the type of vision that you have for your school? And this is for anything, right? If you're a sport-orientated school, which you do like Olympic-style Taekwondo, well, that's what you're going to get. If you're going to get people that you want to be able to come in and they're, more of a certain age group and professionalism or fitness group, you have to have that marketing be there. That's why you can't just get generic clip art and just say, okay, I found something on Pinterest, and I'm going to use that picture as an ad. And now you're upset that those types of people are actually coming in. I don't know if I'm answering it, but realistically, you have to have some sort of, congruent messaging with your marketing. If you're going to wind up going on Groupon and give everything away, you can't be upset that everybody's coming in and being a shopper. Well, you used a shopper's list, which was Groupon. You gave them an incredible deal. Now you're making it a certain leap for them to go from really inexpensive Groupon classes to maybe a premium level pricing. But it also means how good was your class, right? How good was the wait staff, and how good was the steak prepared for them that they would come back even if there was no Groupon special. And maybe you could think, reflect upon that when you think about when you've redeemed a Groupon and think about it. Hey, I'm using this Groupon. If it was really good, you might go back. If it wasn't, you know what? I'm going to look for another restaurant that also has a special. So that's always the whole thing. How do you attract them? How do you keep them? This goes back to the cool factor. This is who your staff is, right? Even with the office or the place that you're signing them up, right? You have this new fitness class, and then now you've corralled them into this business office which has another debatable thing, and nothing in the office is there except your karate belts. So what you're trying to do on that is you have to create that area, right? Not the daycare center. Get them into a point where they feel like they can see themselves in a crystal ball, you know, on a 10-week challenge, on a 1-year challenge, or what have you, and they can't wait to get there. All right, guys. Let's see. Any more questions? Well, again, I'm seeing a lot of questions here. A lot of them look actually very, very similar to each other. So don't forget, Facebook friend me, send me those questions. Go ahead and if you're interested in our special, go to crew-muaythai.info. I love talking to instructors that I never met before, and I'd love to have you and include you in a case study for the school. So, yep, I think we're wrapping it up right now because we've been past an hour. Sorry, guys, I usually don't talk this much. As Sensei Nick is laughing right now. I enjoyed being here and hope that I shared a lot of information with you. I know there was a lot of you that had registered. I know there was, maybe 150 people registered, so there's a lot of people that are going to hear this on recording as well. So thanks to Champions Way, thanks to Sensei Nick, thanks to Mahan for helping me set this up. Thank you for attending,